If people see that, then change in that aspect certainly will come. And one of the critical things for us is reforming the judicial system. That's absolutely crucial. We've had several examples of how to do that well. We have one or two good examples, even local examples. We try to reform the judicial system in Lagos, with the administration of justice system in Lagos, and with a fair amount of success. One of the critical things that we did in Lagos in reforming the judicial system, and one of the reasons why that judiciary is possibly the most credible in the country, and that the reflection of that is in what you see, how you see the prosecutions going. I mean, the AFCC would file prosecutions in Lagos because they expect to see that the prosecutions will go smoothly and that they will at least be able to get a fair hearing, a fair day in court. Now, the reason why that was successful is because we identified some of the key problems. One is remuneration and appointments, the system of appointment of judges and system of remuneration. You can't just appoint anyone as a judge, So we actually headhunted in a lot of cases. We actually went out looking for individuals who we thought could fit the bill, and then we put them through a series of tests. In other parts of the world, it takes ages to be able to become a judge. I mean, 17 tests, 18 tests in the UK. We did a fairly moderate process of testing and interviewing and got the right people. And then we ensured that anyone who was reported for corruption was actually taken through the process and punished. In about 3 years, 3 judges had lost their jobs. 22 magistrates had also lost their jobs in a series of reforms. Our people changed after that. It was very evident that the government was serious, about what it intended to do. And I think that we need to be able to put that in place in reforming institutions. People have to recognize that there will be merit, that merit will be rewarded, they'll be well paid, but at the same time, that discipline will be maintained. So those are some of the, critical components of our anti-corruption agenda. That's how we intend to proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. There is the belief out there that, and you alluded to it in your answer just a while ago, that there has to be accountability, not just at the level of the President and the Vice President, but across the broad spectrum. The recent opportunity that we had to make a show of that, in our view, was the assistance put in place by the federal government, which is now commonly called the bailout for the states. That may have passed. We're not aware. There may be some conditions that were attached to the bailout. You don't get a cure for malaria unless you're willing to take the bitter medicine. Can you tell us if indeed that came with some sense of accountability, holding the state governors to account before that was done, or if there is going to be a similar assistance if this indeed would be the case?
Well, first let us understand the background to this assistance. I mean, we must accept that it wasn't just a matter of state governors not behaving well, losing money, and then we needed to bail them out. I mean, everyone recognized that the states were getting far less than they got, even within in the same period, just 6 months before. I mean, just to take an example, a state that was getting 4.6 billion a month from federal allocation was down to 2.1 billion from federal allocation because of the drop in oil revenues, which of course, as you know, is the main source of revenue. So when you have that kind of drop in revenue, of course it means that the states will be in trouble, especially many of the states that have very little IGR. Now, in that kind of situation, obviously, the kind of thing that we saw, where several states were owing salaries, is a likely result. So, government itself was responding to circumstances which, in the first place, were largely beyond the control of the states. So it wasn't really a situation where we were responding to this in the sense that, oh, these states have done very badly, they've just misspent money. And I'm not necessarily absolving anyone from any kind of fiscal indiscipline or anything like that. But I'm just saying that the reality was that the states were earning so little. Now, the way that the bailout, to so describe it, was done, was actually done, there are three aspects of it. Some aspects of it, for example, the loans, the commercial loans, verifiable commercial loans, taken by the states amounted to about 680 billion. Now, that's all the states put together. So we thought that now with these loans, they were paying from their federal allocation, which of course were reduced, again, substantial amounts of that to repay the loans. So you would find, for instance, a state that was earning 2.1 billion, paying about 600 million in amortization payments for the loans that it had taken. So we thought that the best thing would be to work out a way by which the banks could take federal government bonds, and the states could then owe the federal government over the same period. So the bonds, which were 20 to 25-year tenors, we simply adjusted that so that the states and the federal government would now have, the states would now owe the federal government and amortize over a period of 25 years, which obviously led to a reduction in the actual payments that they would be making, substantial reduction. In some cases, up to 80% reduction, so that they simply have more money, more of their 2.1 billion to spend, on hopefully capital projects, and of course in many cases having to even pay salaries. Then there's the second aspect of that is a window to borrow as much as 10 billion, and that's in total. Now that window allows them to borrow about 10 billion at about 9% interest, but then you ask for it and you are given specific conditions. So you have to meet certain conditions. And then, of course, the other aspects of this payment were payments which they would have been entitled to, right? But for example, we made a payment from the federal allocation, but that payment was simply the naira value, if you like, of dividends that they were entitled to, of foreign exchange dividends that they were entitled to. But we made that payment early, and we made two payments. So they were actually entitled to that amount of money, but we made the payments quicker. And rather than keep money, we actually gave out that money. So when you look at the total package, the bailout, the total package of it, of course, the aspects of it that required them to be accountable to the federal government, we ensured that would be done. But then you mustn't forget also that the states are autonomous, right? And that they must, even the process of checking what the states are doing is actually the business of the houses of assembly. But in this case, we were able to get into the state's business because of the work, because of the bailout, if you like. And so we're able to impose certain conditions, at least with respect to the loans that were being given. So that's how that worked out.
Okay, Your Excellency, I'd like to, I want you to speak to us about something that's of major concern to all of us. Everything that Kunle has presented, every scenario, the moderate and the optimistic scenario seems like options we should one way or the other be considering. They're policies we should be looking at ways to implement. They probably be part of our tough choices, which we're saying to government, it's no politics, it's time to take the hard decisions because it's in the interest of all of us. But economic development, growth, education, and all of those things are only possible in a secured environment. And as a business person, for every meeting you attend anywhere around the world at this point in time, the first question you're going to have to answer is about the security of the nation. It's obvious that a lot of attempt is being made, but it's even beyond the Northeast. We've got the issues of Boko Haram, we've got rumblings in the Southeast, you've got issues of divisions in different parts of the country. What exactly is the plan for us to be able to deliver a conducive, stable, secured environment that will allow the economic growth that we desire so that we can do all the other things that are needed?
I think the important thing is first for a government is to be fully aware of what it is that is